Some mistakes just happen. Others, they happen more than 2.5 million times a year. I'm the Claims Ninja, your insider on insurance strategy and settlement warfare. And today, we're exposing the number one crash in the country: rear end collisions, and how to protect yourself before and after the impact. Rear end collisions account for about 30% of all car crashes in the United States. That's millions of drivers each year caught off guard by something they thought would never happen to them. They're fast, they're common, and despite what the internet says, most don't happen at high rates of speed. They happen at intersections, stop signs, school zones, and parking lots. And while they might look minor on the outside, rear end wrecks can total your car, injure your neck, and derail your finances. So let's break down why these crashes keep happening. First of all, distractions. Phones, kids in the back seat, scrolling at red lights, tailgating, following too closely with no room for error, stop and go traffic, especially during rush hour traffic, and one of the most common overlooked reasons, not driving for conditions. And I'll explain. So, what do I mean driving for conditions? Well, when the road changes, so should your habits. But most drivers don't. It's raining and they're still doing 75 miles per hour. It's snowing, but there's no extra space between them and the cars in front of them. It's foggy, but they're driving like the sky is clear. Failing to adjust for conditions makes you up to 3 times more likely to rear end someone. And it's not just a mistake, guys, it's a pattern. And then, of course, it's that most dangerous time of the day to be on the road, somewhere between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Everyone's tired, everyone's rushing, and attention spans, well, practically non existent. That window of time sees more collisions than any other. And it's when rear enders go from likely to highly probable. Now, this information may just seem like common sense to some people, but that can't be the case, guys, because with 2.5 million rear enders a year in the US alone, somebody is not paying attention. So, to avoid being a part of that 2.5 million, remember these 3 words: space, sense, and self control. So, leave at least 3 seconds between you and the car ahead of you. Double that in bad weather. Stay focused. That means no phones, no food, and no multitasking. And always expect the driver in front of you to stop suddenly. Now, it does sound simple, guys, but we all know that bad habits are very difficult to break. So let's talk about who's at fault for a rear ender. Now, usually, a very large percentage of the time, it's the person in the rear that hits the car in front of them because insurance companies simply assume that you didn't leave enough space and the car stopped either for traffic or another vehicle slowing in front of them or even a pedestrian. So that's why rear enders are typically the fault of the person in the rear. However, there are a very few exceptions. If someone brake checks you, if they reverse into you at a light, or if they set up a staged crash, those are very different. And you know what that's called? Fraud. And it does happen more frequently than you might know. And everyone knows that fraud is on the rise in every aspect of our lives, right? So the only way to prove that someone reversed into you or brake checked you or just stopped in the middle of the interstate for no reason is independent witnesses. Good luck with that. Documentation, evidence, and dash cams. Always have a dash cam running. Try not to get too close to people when you're at, a stop sign or a traffic light, or basically you're just stopping in traffic. Put some space between you and that person. And of course, you can't control how close someone is to you in the rear, but just make sure that you're not the person that's causing the rear ender. So here's something that's really important, and don't take it the wrong way, because I'm not telling you to be dishonest. I'm telling you to not admit to anything, right? So let's say, for instance, you did rear end someone. It happens to even the best of us, right? It happens to really good drivers, and it's probably happened to at least 50% of the people that's listening to this video. But don't say, I'm sorry, don't admit fault, and don't start to guess what happened. Because to be honest with you, if you do rear end someone, maybe it's because they just brake checked you or slammed on their brakes in the middle of, a 45-mile-per-hour zone, or you just really never know if it's one of the scams that people are pulling these days. So don't go into admitting fault, saying you're sorry, none of that. Just get the police or exchange information with the other driver and really think about what happened, and then call your insurance company. Because a lot of times when people think they are at fault for accidents, they're actually not at fault, or they're partially at fault, or both people are kind of like a 50-50. So it's important that you not admit to anything. And when people apologize, the other driver tends to tell the company, well, she immediately apologized. She said she was sorry, and he or she admitted fault. So you want to think about that first. Talk to your insurance company, tell them the truth about what really happened in the incident or the accident, but do not, under any circumstances, say that you were the person that's at fault. Not unless you're an expert in determining fault for car accidents, or that you know the rules of the road very well for your state. Then if you want to just say, hey, I was at fault for that, then be my guest. But to be honest with you, sometimes drivers really think that they are at fault. They don't really know the rules of the road, and they're admitting fault. And if you say that to the officer, then that same police report, that narrative, is going to be passed on to both insurance companies. This video is probably not the one you want to fast forward through, because there are some very important benchmarks that you need to take away. For instance, if you are held or deemed to be at fault for the accident, then brace yourself, because the consequences can stack up fast. Your insurance company will likely hit you with a rate increase or surcharge at renewal. You could also rack up points on your driver's license, depending on your state. And here's the kicker: if your coverage isn't high enough to pay for the other person's damages, you could be sued personally for the difference. That's a whole nother video by itself. But trust me, there are so many blind spots in auto insurance. Most people never see them until it's too late. So stick with me, guys. So if you don't have time to listen to the entire video, then save it and come back when you do have time, so that you can listen carefully and avoid some of these blind spots with auto accidents, and then navigate through what to do if you are unfortunate enough to either hit someone or someone hits you. So, of course, you're going to tell your insurance company exactly what happened, right? And you're going to take very good photos. Take your phone out, take close up photos, and then take photos from a wider angle as well. Take photos of the license plates, um, the damage, the scene layout before the vehicles are moved, the intersections, traffic signs, that type things. If there are any witnesses, try to get those people's names and a quick, statement about what they saw, See if you can get their phone numbers, if they'll be willing to talk to the police, stay around and talk to the police or the insurance companies. And of course, call your carrier as soon as reasonably safe and possible to do so. And let me say this again, guys, it's not being rude and it's not being dishonest. You're just being smart. Let the investigation do the talking, right? If the officer shows up and they give you a ticket or they say that you're at fault, then your insurance company will deal with that, right? When they investigate it, they're going to look at photos, talk to any independent witnesses, talk to you, talk to the other driver if they cooperate and provide a statement for them. They'll look at points of impacts. A lot of times that will tell the insurance company a lot, as well as the angles of the vehicles before they're moved, of course. So don't try to be an adjuster at the scene. Just, give the officer your information, give them the card or whatever they're going to ask for, your insurance card. So you're going to give them that information and have a conversation with your insurance company as soon as possible. So here are some claims ninja tactics that you always want to take with you if, God forbid, there is an accident, right? Number one, don't overshare at the scene. You don't have to give explanations to the other driver about what happened or what you think happened. Don't overshare. And don't say that you're fine. Injuries will often develop and show up later. The next morning, you could barely be able to get out of bed, so don't say you're fine. Okay. Don't say you're fine with regards to injuries. Number three, record audio, video, especially if the other party's acting suspicious. Use your phone. It's going to be very valuable to the investigation. And notify your insurer right away. We said that. And if you don't have a dash cam, get one right away and utilize that so that you will have proof of what really happened should the unfortunate incident or accident happen. Because unfortunately, we live in a society where people are not always honest, and they will look the officer square in the face and lie about what happened, right? And because you're not an expert, you're just not going to talk to that driver about what you think happened. The officer may ask you, and don't be dishonest or lie to the officer, but just don't volunteer too much information. You save that for your insurance company, especially if you're not sure if you were at fault. Now, if you're stopped in traffic at a red light, it's common sense. It's a no-brainer. You were stopped at a stop sign or a red light or in traffic. You tell the officer that's what happened, right? Or be like my daughter. No, I know what happened. You rear-ended my car. But don't be confrontational and try to get as many photos as you can, because documentation is what wins cases. And as you know, rear end collisions happen, like I said at the beginning of the video, 2.5 million times or more a year. So don't let one of those wrecks, you know, up in your finances and your future with debt. Put space between you and the vehicles in front of you, and subscribe for more smart claim strategies, insider tips, and settlement survival tactics right here on the Claims Ninja, where strategy meets settlement. And drop a ninja emoji in the comments, guys. Share the video with a friend. Let me know if you've ever rear-ended someone or if you ever were rear-ended. Let me know what happened in that accident. And I am the Claims Ninja, and I'll see you on the next video.